Hey guys, whoops. Wouldn't be a day without me messing it up. Hey guys, it's Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. Welcome to the show. I mean, it isn't going to be a show without me messing up. I mean, come on. What are we expecting here? Thank you for joining tonight. Lots and lots to talk about. Lots and lots to talk about tonight. Whoops, sorry, my phone clicked on. Whoops. Okay, let's try this again. Hey guys, it's Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. Welcome to the show. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's been a crazy few days, and I think I've lost my mind. So I want to start off to kind of, while people start trickling in, and explain some things that have been going on in my life, why I haven't been around, why I've had to cancel shows. So I have bronchitis, and so I've been a little run down because of that. Hold on. Hello, thanks for joining. Hello, hello. Hello. We do want to give a new welcome to one of the new mods, Cheryl. I met her at Karen retrial, and so she offered to join them on, and I said, hey, I can use people, so we appreciate you, Cheryl. Hey Dennis, thanks for jumping on. How are you? How's Brenda? Okay, so let me get back to what I was saying. So I've been a little sick with that, and I've been having my migraines that I normally deal with. Well, also, I had, there was a video suggested to me on YouTube because I had probably been looking up something to deal with my fibromyalgia or something. And I have always thought that I've had something more than fibro, but, they do all kinds of testing to rule everything out. And this video was suggested to me, so I watched it. And I was like, I'm going to have my doctor test me for that. So I saw my neurologist last Tuesday, I believe it was. And he sent me for blood work, and part of it came back that I could have what was suggested to me, which is kind of insane, that just a random video on YouTube was suggested to me, and I, advocated for myself. So make sure, excuse me, if you feel like there's something wrong with your body, you advocate for yourself. You always have to. You can't just take your doctor's word. Just if you feel, your own body, yourself. If you feel like there's something wrong with you beyond what they're saying, keep pushing. It took a long time for me to get the fibromyalgia diagnosis, but that might not even be right. Or it might be a combination of a few things. Yes, I fully agree. You are the best advocate. You are the best advocate for yourself. You know what your body feels like. You know what it is to walk around in your own body. So you need to make sure that you keep pushing doctors. Whoops. Oh, have fun, Dennis, at the select board. I'll be watching once I am off. Hello. So as I was saying, good to see you, Sue. Absolutely, you have to advocate for yourself. So hopefully we can figure some stuff out with this new blood work and get things moving. I actually saw my primary care the next day anyway, and my vitamin D is low. So there's a few things going on that have kind of just bumped up against each other at once. But I got my vitamins to get my vitamin D back up. And we will see what happens with those other testing. So just explaining why the past I think 2 shows I had to cancel or move. Absolutely. Fibro is definitely, whoops, I keep clicking on the wrong one. Fibro is definitely a grueling on a person. And especially since fibromyalgia has only been being believed by doctors for the last few years. So it's so hard. It was so hard back then anyway, to have doctors believe in it, because they didn't believe that this they call it a syndrome. I think it's been kind of upgraded to disease. I don't know. It's been finally recognized under the disability system. It's taken a long time for that to really take shape, and a lot of people have suffered for many years because of that. Okay, so I have lots and lots to go over. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. It's been a crazy, crazy week with all the, Robert Devine stuff, and, as my title was, oh boy, the stuff coming out about Matthew Farrell being, because I haven't been here to even talk about Matthew Farrell being charged for the murder of the baby too. So there's it stinks. When that news came out and I was too sick to do the, because on top of me having this other stuff, I was dealing with my migraines. So for me to not being able to jump on and do a show and talk about, what's going on in the case was like so annoying. I just wanted to get out here and talk all about it with you guys. And I'm glad I'm here tonight to talk to you guys. So, yeah, I mean, thankfully, postpartum is slowly starting to become and hopefully these 2 cases in Massachusetts will make it be so much further in the forefront of people's minds of what somebody with postpartum depression goes through. And if these 2 horrible cases help to, if we could take that little bit of good from these 2 cases, because I mean, the Clancy case is horrible, and so is Kelsey Fitzpatrick's case. So if we can take these 2 cases and help push postpartum to the forefront, so people can understand it more, because it's obviously those 2 are, those are extreme versions of like what's in the public, but postpartum needs to be talked about even more, and what it can, and especially if somebody gets into the place of where Clancy was, where it's postpartum psychosis, and she went and did that to her annihilated her family. Yes, thank you. So I'm going to bring up the upcoming stuff. I'm going to show you guys our flyers for what's coming up with everything in the Sandra Birchmore case. Give me 1 second. Okay, as we've talked about the last hearing, let me make sure everything's up on the screen. Yes, okay. Matthew Farrell is going to trial on, sorry guys. He's going on October 5th, 2026. Matthew Farrell will be going to trial. There will be tons of hearings throughout the year. There's basically a hearing every month for the next year. And so we might not be doing as many standouts. Most of our standouts might go towards that until I'll get into some more of that in a minute. But so October 5th, 2026, Matthew Farrell will be going to trial for the murder of Sandra Birchmore and now her unborn child. And thank goodness, and we're going to talk about that more in a second. We do have a standout coming up. It is November 22nd. It's, let me read it off the screen. November 22nd, from 12 to 3 p.m. at Stoughton Center. It's where we normally do most of our standouts. If the weather is bad, we might only go till 2 o'clock. Please check our social to, we'll let you know if we're going to make that judgment. But so November 22nd, 12 to 3 at Stoughton Center. It's right across from Town Hall. Town Hall's address is 10 Pearl Street in Stoughton. It's a perfect little area for us where we do our standouts. We're able to, you know, there's benches, you know, you can bring a chair if you want to. You know, Annie has a chair for me so I can sit because I can't stand the whole time. You know, we have a triangle in the middle with it's like a 5-way intersection. And if we get too many people, which sometimes we do, the last time, luckily we did, thankfully, we can, you know, do offshoots onto the other parts of the intersection. So if you are in the area, or if you have some free time that day, you don't have to come for the whole time. You know, stop by, say hi, hold a sign, even if it's for like 10, 15 minutes. You know, just come on down and hang out with us for a little while. You know, you can ask people about the case. You can meet some, you know, like-minded people. If you've never been to one of our standouts, they're very chill, you know, and everybody there is great. So please come down if you have the time. We do have extra signs, but we also ask for people, if you can, bring your own sign. We do stick signs throughout to have them in the ground for people to look at as they're driving also. So if you can bring your own sign, that's great. But if you can't, don't worry about it. We have extra signs. I'm going to actually be making some more in the next few days. Maybe this weekend I'll make them. But I have a bunch of blank signs for me to spray paint and make. So that's one of the next things that was on our list. Wrong one. And let me skip this one for now and go to the next one. It was just announced that Matthew Farrell will have a hearing on November 13th at 10:45 a.m. It's an arraignment hearing, so it is basically, he's not going to be there. Excuse me, he's not going to be there. It's gonna be a very quick hearing. I'm probably not going to go because basically they're just going to say arraign him. It's going to be like a 2-minute hearing. If people want to go and hold signs outside, that you're more than welcome to. I'm just probably not going to be able to go with the holidays coming because I have to pay to take the bus. I'm coming down 2 times this month. So, and I'll explain why the second one, I'm going to be coming down to this area on Friday. So I will explain that in a minute. So, but if you want to go, be more than welcome. You can get into the court. You just need an ID. You cannot bring your phone in. That's pretty much the best two big things for going into the federal court building. You need your ID and you can't bring your phone in. You can either leave it in your car or they have cubbies where you can check your phone in and get it on the way out. That's what I do. So I have my phone right there when I leave. Let me go back to the other one. I cannot, I would love to allow people, but I can't. I've made the family a promise that I'm not going to take any money. That's something I can maybe work out with them if people want to buy me bus. That's something I can approach them with. But I don't take any money for anything that I'm doing. And you know, I think it's been a way for me to keep, this is going to sound weird, but just to keep my hands clean, everything honest. You know, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for the justice for Sandra to get justice. I am not here to make any money off of Sandra. I'm not even monetized right now on my page, so I can't even, I don't take, you know, Snapchats or any, not Snapchat. Why am I saying Snapchats? Oh my God, sorry. I don't take any, I don't even know what they're called at the moment. I don't take any money for, you know, because of Sandra. So, so I appreciate you. Thank you so much for offering though. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Thanks. Thanks, Barb. It's getting harder and harder. Especially now that winter's coming, it's a lot. And so everybody knows we will be taking December and January off, and we'll come back for the anniversary of yeah. Hello, thanks for joining. Yes, I work pro bono. Yes, super chats, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, I kind of like it, but I don't. The darkness is good for my migraines, but that's me being selfish. That it also ushers in what is it called? Seasonal depression. I know there's a certain term for it. But anyway, so back to what I was going to show you guys. Okay, yeah. So he does have the hearing on the 13th. It, like I said, it's the hearing will be gone before your butt even gets comfortable on the seat. So I personally just can't afford to come down for that. But there is another one that we will be at, and that is the next month, December 16th. He has a hearing at 10:30 a.m. We will be there about 9. Check back. We might change the time with that. It gets really cold down there. Where it's located, it's like right off the water. And so the wind whips into that area. So it's like, this was just 2 weeks ago, I think it was. We were down there and it was freezing, and it's not even like winter yet. It's still fall. So we were like, this is insane. So it's going to be cold down there this winter. So we might want to limit our time out there. So it's only like a half hour and not out there for an hour. And also it gets us in the courtroom faster. We can, you know, get in and get settled. But that doesn't mean don't come down, because you can come into the court. You should have seen how many seats were empty. We can use all the people. We need all the all your butts in the seats to be there for Sandra. Us being outside, that's more for the press. The inside is for Sandra. I mean, obviously to get on camera for us to show a showing, you know, in force for Sandra, it means the world. But for us to be in the courtroom is the most important. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. So we want as many butts in the seats as we can get, because once it gets closer to the trial, you might not get a button. Your butt might not have a seat to have. So, getting to the pretrial stuff might be a good option for people. I know I am going to try to make it to every court hearing I can, unless I have a doctor's appointment. And obviously, I will try to work my doctor's appointments around the court dates. That's why I want the full list of what all the court dates are, so I can write it on the calendar and I can carry that list around with me to all my doctor's appointments, so I can tell my doctors, no, I can't come on these days. I intend to do my very best to get down to every day for the trial. It's gonna be rough on my body, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but that is my intention, to try to get there every day for the trial. So, but we have a year for that. That's off in the distance. So, are you talking about migraine for migraines? I'm sorry, I missed what you guys are talking about. Yeah, that's my plan. I want to get a good pillow, the kind that parents use for sitting at stadiums for their children, or sitting at sporting events for their kids, and definitely make sure to hydrate and make sure everything is, all meds are taken. Try to get good sleep. Yes, seasonal depression. Okay, yeah. My sister-in-law gets it really bad. I do too, but I have so many other things, I don't notice it as much as I used to. So, okay. So let me see. Let me go back to make sure that I've talked about everything. Yes. So the December 16th hearing at 10:30 a.m. Thankfully, it is later than the last. Like, getting into Boston for 9 a.m. is tough when you're using public transportation. So, thank you. But yeah, we will be there. I'm gonna talk to Barbara about it. So the standout time will definitely probably change. But for now, this is what it is, just so we have it up in for people to see. So, okay. So I've gone over all of that. Are there any questions up till this point? Yes, yes. Barb, you are correct. It's the final status conference hearing in front of the old judge. Going after that will be the new judge, and I'm not sure if that's the same judge that he is being arraigned in front of. I assume it is, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to look at the names on the docket. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really tough with a chronic illness, because, as Barb can tell you, there's so many days I'm like, Barb, I got to go take a nap. I got to lay down for an hour or two. I just got to close my eyes for a little bit, because it's not like fibro. It comes with the extreme exhaustion, but then you have the migraines that brings it. I mean, the fibro, you have extreme pain too, but it's like this ping pong back and forth of, migraines and the fibro bumping up against each other, and then getting sick on top of it, regular sick, seasonal sick. has not been fun. Needless to say, it has not been fun, but we go forward and we press on like we only can, you know. So Friday, I am coming down to Needham, and I am going to be on the Grace Curley show. Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks, he invited me to come down. He has been filling in as one of the guest hosts while she's been on maternity leave, and he invited me to come down for Friday to talk about all the updates in Sandra's case. So I will be on the show. The show starts at noon, so the show starts at 12 on Friday, but I'm not sure exactly what time I will be going on. But so if you're around, check out the Grace Curley show on Friday. I will be there talking to Mike Crawford all about the updates for Sandra's case. It's really good timing too, because everything that's going on with Robert Devine, you know, there's some stuff that needs to be said, and it'll be good for the public to hear. That's not just like an echo chamber of, you know, all of us who see all the corruption and stuff that's going on. So yeah, I'm excited. I've never been on the radio. I've been on, you know, a bunch of news stations, but I've never been on the radio. So I'm excited about that. You know, it's you know, it's exciting to be invited to do something like that, and I cannot wait to get up there and talk about the case. You know, bring some more eyes to Sandra's case. You know, it's the more we can get her case out there, the more it helps. You know, that's why Barb and I do what we do. We want to bring awareness to Sandra's case, not just because we want her name out there, but we also want her legacy. We want her legacy not to be just this girl who was groomed and abused and treated like crap and you know, flung aside by police officers. We want this young woman who needed them to step up for her in her time of need, and instead they treated her like crap and discarded her like garbage. And we want Sandra's legacy, you know, when there's a child who is vulnerable, this is when people like Matthew Farwell and all the other gross, disgusting, vile officers, who we're going to talk about one of them in a few minutes, where they can get their claws into a child. And, you know, it's not just police officers, it's, you know, coaches, teachers, priests, you know, pastors, neighbors, uncles, you know, these are the people that we need parents to understand. It's not the boogeyman under your child's bed. It's people who are in their lives who do this to them. So is there any questions, anything we need to address before we move on to the next subject? So yeah, we are too. Trust me, we are. I am irate, in it just the audacity of some people, the audacity of. So before we move on to Divine, I want to talk a little bit about because I haven't been able to share my feelings on what happened the other day, last week. You know, Matthew Farwell was charged for the murder of this baby too. You know, Barb and I have been wanting this for a long time. Obviously, Barb has wanted it longer than I have. Her family, you know, her aunt and her cousins and extended family, they've all wanted this for so long. And finally, he's been charged for the baby too. And we finally found out the sex of the baby. And give me 1 second, I gotta put more chapstick on. We finally found out the sex of the baby was a boy. And it's weird. It's weird how things work, because Sandra's favorite color was blue, and we've been wearing blue. We decided to make blue our color because of Sandra. And then we decided, well, why don't we do light blue, baby blue, to include the baby? We said baby blue. It wasn't that it was a boy or a girl. It was just baby blue. And to know this whole time we've been wearing, I'm trying not to get all teary-eyed. We've been wearing baby blue for a baby boy this whole time. It really hits you. And it's heartbreaking that Sandra isn't here to be raising her child. You know, this little boy would be running around driving Barb crazy right now, you know. And we're just happy that he is now on the hook for both of them. Now, I think there are 2 reasons why he was charged. One, it was a way to put the screws to him and to say we're going to go for the death penalty. So I do believe that they are going to go to the death penalty, and that probably will happen in January. They have till January to make that decision. I believe that's why they upped the charges. They did the superseding indictment. I also believe they also did the superseding indictment for Main Justice. I'm going to try to say this more eloquently than I did on Justice Served last week. Now, the decision to whether they're going to go for the death penalty depends on Main Justice. Main Justice just means the main office of DOJ, and Pam Bondi is head of the DOJ, as everybody knows. Now, she is a Republican, so she does not believe in abortion. She believes that all life is created at conception. So she believes that it's murder to a baby. So I think this was some gamesmanship on both sides. They're putting the screws to him, but also they're putting it on Bondi. Hey, he didn't just murder this girl. He murdered a baby. She was pregnant. You know, he needs to go be on the hook for the death penalty. So I think it was a combination of the two. I think it's a strategic move. Whether or not they're going to fully go for the death penalty, I don't know. But I think it's a strategic move. And they're trying to set those pieces up so they can move some pieces around. I personally believe that's why he was upcharged with the superseding indictment. I go back and forth. I'm one of those people who are down the road, middle of the road when it comes to the death penalty. I think there are some people who deserve the death penalty, but I also think we need more stringent conditions before somebody is put to death. You know, I personally think serial killers, you know what? Bye, peace. You know, you go murder 50 women because you had mommy issues, you know, deuces. But I also think that before somebody is put to death, even though it would be more expensive, I think that, you know, DNA needs to be rerun. Everything needs to be tested. They need to have a panel that comes in and reviews the whole case. And then they decide that, yes, this person can be put to death. That's what I believe. But I also think that the death penalty has such, there are too many people who have been put to death when they were innocent. There's so many people who are being exonerated, and look at what we just went through with Karen Reed. People get wrongfully convicted all the time. There are mistakes made. There are bad cops. There are bad prosecutors. So to say an eye for an eye when the justice system is kind of human, and humans make a lot of mistakes, it's a hard thing to get behind. And I know Barb doesn't believe in the death penalty because of her faith. So, and everybody has the right to feel how they want to feel about the death penalty. You can be for it, you can be against it, and that is your personal choice. But these are my feelings on the death penalty. I feel like I don't know which side I sit on when it comes to the death penalty for Farwell. Many are conflicted about the death penalty, but I agree with you, Mizzy. Matt Farwell took 2 lives. Screw him on the death row decades. But see, the other part of that, though, is it's more expensive to have somebody on death row. So think of it with Farwell. If he gets life in jail, he's a pedophile and a cop in prison. Those are the 2 things you do not want to be in prison. So him staying alive is almost worse than getting death. The death penalty is almost the easy way out. Hey, Life Artist. Thanks for joining us. So it's yeah, there's so many, groups that work to get justice for people. So it's tough. It's and the wrongful convictions are very. There are so many Black men being let out after being wrongfully convicted after 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. There's a racist component to the justice system, and a lot of Black men who have lost a lot of years of their lives. I mean, look at the Central Park 5. Look what happened to them. There are so many people being accused of crimes that they did not commit, whether it be from lazy policing, lying witnesses, everything we just saw in the Karen Reed trial. There are so many people who are wrongfully convicted, but there are also a lot of people who are sitting in prison who deserve to be there for the rest of their lives, and society does not need them out on the streets. So we need to fix our justice system, because our justice system is not just for everyone. Excuse me, I need to take a hit of my inhaler. I fully agree. I fully agree with you there. I mean, I would go as far as to say 1,000%. 2 million. Yes, that's even better. That's better than my 1,000. Sorry. I fully agree with you. He is, and he's even worse. Like, if you're a criminal, you do crime things, you do criminal things, you do dickhead things, you stick up people, you murder people, you rob people, you do crime. But when you're a cop, You're supposed to be fighting against crime. We put our faith in the police officers. We give them this power over us. And then you're going to go out there and murder young women who you abused from the age of 12. And when I say abused, I mean groomed and then sexually assaulted at 15. You know, so that's even worse. No, it didn't. It absolutely did not. It did not. And there was so much. If you have not seen, I cannot remember the name of the special that they did. It was a mini series on the Central Park 5. I recommend people go watch that. Let me see if I can get the name of it. It is horrific. And especially what Corey went through. I think it might be on Netflix. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It's called When They See Us. I really recommend watching that. And it's what Corey went through. And Corey wasn't even one of the 5. He wasn't even there. He went there with his friend. And they snatched him up and put him in jail for this. Oh yeah, so you know about a lot about it. Life artist. My dad was picked up once because they thought he robbed a bank. He was on his way home. Give me 1 second, I gotta scroll up. He was on his way home, but his CV before way home from work, but his CV before they looked into it, they arrested and beat him, broke his glasses. Oh, I am so sorry your dad went through that. Oh my goodness. That is awful. And that's why we all have to continue to speak out against injustices. So, but yeah, so when it comes to what happened with Matthew Farwell being upcharged and getting the superseding indictment, we are so happy. You know, at just the Justice for Sandra Birchmore group, we are ecstatic, and I know her family is happy that he has finally been charged. So let's move on to Robert Devine. So I'm sure a lot of you know that Robert Devine's post-commission hearing has been released. I recommend going to watch it on the Trial channel. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. They have taken it and give me 1 second. They have taken the trial and taken out all of the white noise. Oh, and I was dealing with that. So I'm trying to watch it, and the white noise is making my migraines worse. So I'm like, what the hell? I am almost done. I just started watching. I've watched everything up till probably about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour into Martinez Attorney Martinez questioning Robert Devine. And he is getting under his skin. Oh, thank you for dropping that in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm going to play just a news report from last night. I'm not going to play a lot of the clips. I want to wait till I can really pull some points. But I want to read through my notes. There will be a lot of cussing. I did use see you next Tuesday a lot. I will try to edit it out, but it might come out of my mouth a few times. So give me 1 second because I was supposed to go on Banfield last night, but I was just too sick. So, but they got Bob Ward, and I think her talking to him was better than talking to me. So give me 1 second. Screen, YouTube. And actually, I learned something. I'll tell you guys after we watch it. Okay. I'm just going to take myself off the screen so I can full screen this.
While you were on patrol, approximately 20 times, if not a little more. Maybe. How long did those interactions last?
No more than a few minutes.
And how long would those interactions last before she asked you to rail her?
She came up with that one probably 2 or 3 weeks in.
So just out of the blue, she would just say, when are you going to give in and rail me?
That's what she does. Or what she did.
To you?
No, it's what she did to plenty of people.
So you witnessed when she did this to other people?
No, other people talked about it.
Who are these other people that talked about it?
Just people around the station, you know, would say things that she would say, inappropriate things to people, that she would everything else. I mean, no one told me she directly propositioned them, but that she would say things that were out of bounds.
But you acknowledge that she had told you that she was having a sexual relationship with Matthew Farwell?
No, I didn't acknowledge that. What she said to me was, when she was propositioning, Matt and Billy like it. She said that one time.
Like what?
I assumed she meant like sleeping with her. That's what she said to me.
So she did have intimate conversations with you?
That was the one thing she ever said.
He goes on to say in the hearing that she said the railing thing, and I guess it's repeated a lot in her journal. He's never heard of that term, and he's never used that term. Come on. You're a grown-ass man. You have heard the term railing, especially since you and I are about the same age and we're from the same area. So you've heard that term. Come on, dude. I hate him just looking at him. You know, he didn't even have to start talking. He didn't even have to open his mouth, and I already hated him. He thinks that he is like king shit. No, he's just a piece of shit. Listen to a little more.
About them.
Did she say that stuff about anyone else?
No.
So it was just Matthew and Billy Farwell?
Well, she said Matt and Billy. I assumed it was Matthew and Billy Farwell. But I also didn't believe her when she said it.
Why not?
Because she lied about everything.
What are some of the things that she lied about?
She lied about being pregnant 6 times. She had restraining orders.
Actually, she was pregnant. She had miscarriages. So for you, sir, and I say sir very condescendingly, to say that it was a lie, you, sir, have also been proved a liar many times. You know, you had your whole sex scandal in 2014 14, 15, where you were demoted because you were a liar. So maybe you shouldn't accuse other people of lying because you're not that truthful yourself either. Just saying.
How long do those interactions last?
No more than a few minutes.
And how long would those interactions last before she asked you to rail her?
She came up with that one probably 2 or 3 weeks in.
So just
Also, he wants us to believe that Sandra was just, I mean, granted, Sandra, if she saw a police officer, especially if she knew him, she would pull up and say, you know, talk to them and ask them if they want a coffee and stuff like that. So some of the stuff that he does say in this is true, but there's also always a little truth with your lies. So she just rides up to him and says, when are you gonna rail me? Like he's some like freaking Adonis that girls just want to stalk and you know, beg to rail them. It's different when he was in the when he was younger and he was a young hot cop, but when he was working as an SOR officer. But and at this time, this was just what, 2021. So I'm a big fat person, so I feel like I can call you out on your big fatness. You're a big fat bloated, not just body, ego. So she's rolling up, being like, "Oh, Divine, you're so hot, I want to rail you." Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. No, I think it's the other way. I think your two little proteges let you know that your proteges let you know what was going on and you wanted to get in on it. I think, and that's one of the things I put in my thing. I think he was jealous. He was seeing what was going on with the Farwell brothers, and he wanted to be a part of that.
out of the blue, she would just say, when are you going to give in and rail me?
That's what she does. It's not what she did.
To you.
No, it's what she did to plenty of people.
So you witnessed when she did this to other people?
No, other people talked about it.
Who are these other people that talked about it?
Just people around the station, you know, would say things that she would say, inappropriate things to people that she would everything else. I mean, no one told me she directly propositioned them, but that she would say things that were out of bounds.
But you acknowledge that she had told you that she was having a sexual relationship with Matthew Farwell?
No, I didn't acknowledge that. What she said to me was, when she was propositioning, Matt and Billy like it. She said that one time.
Like what?
I assume she meant like sleeping with her. That's what she said to me.
So she did have intimate conversations with you.
That was the one thing she ever said about them.
Did she say that stuff about anyone else?
No.
So it was just Matthew and Billy Farwell.
Well, she said Matt and Billy. I assumed it was Matthew and Billy Farwell. But I also didn't believe her when she said it.
Why not?
Because she lied about everything.
What are some of the things that she lied about?
She lied about being pregnant half a dozen times. She had restraining orders taken out on her. I know one restraining order in particular. Her boyfriend said, you know, she pretty much lied about everything there was to lie.
So the murder victim is a liar, and the girl who was.
So, give me a second. When children are groomed, they are taught a certain way to be. They are taught to lie to their family and friends and the people around them. They are taught to do these things. They made her into the way Sandra was. You know, Sandra had some issues. She was a young woman looking for a place to belong, and she thought she found this place, and these men, freaking vultures, you know, emotional and physical vultures, came and you know, broke her down and took advantage of this young woman who needed help. She needed these men to help her, not take advantage of her. I want to read you guys something a friend of hers posted on our page. Let me bring it up. Give me 1 second. Where is it? This was one of Sandra's friends, and she also was a teacher of Sandra's. And she replied to this video. It says, because she lied about many things doesn't mean he didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure she did do things, he says, but that's because these gross men made her that way. That's how she got attention, affection, and felt needed and important. He had much to do with that. And I don't believe him saying he wasn't interested in it, in what she was doing, because he's got a twisted background with the stuff he and she was told exactly what he says. They were treated so unfairly by their supervisors. And I've been told by a lot of people who were in the Explorers that it wasn't the best place. That it wasn't just, you know, I know of a young man who wanted to go into law enforcement, who ended up going into law enforcement and left the Explorers after 2 weeks. His mom reached out to me. The treatment that he received was so bad, he left after 2 weeks. And this was a young boy who wanted to be in law enforcement. He was the perfect candidate to be in the Explorers program. She was fed those lies and shared them with me. She thought she was being so good to these guys who were overwhelmed and overworked. They couldn't even get time with their wives. So basically, they were feeding her these things to manipulate her, that they were overworked and you know, they were apart from their families and blah, 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 blah. They couldn't even get time with their wives. That's what these creeps actually told her. There's a lot of lying right there, Divine, and you're doing it. Oh, and how vengeful you sound against her. Could it be that you are guilty? You are caught. The way she looked up to and admired you tells a different tale. You were pushing her, tells a different tale. You weren't pushing her away. You're not the victim here, and you don't deserve a clear name. And that friend doesn't often speak. So I appreciate her speaking out. The arrogance of this man, the audacity of this man is beyond any reasoning. Okay, let's up so I can get to my notes of what I took during
murdered, who was also raped at 15 and groomed from the time she was 13 in your program, is the liar, is the problem. She's the one asking us all for sex. So I don't know who. I don't know who. Just people talking, you know. I want to bring in someone who's been following this story very closely. Bob Ward is a reporter for Boston 25 News, good friend of the program. My blood boils, Bob. Just it boils when I hear stuff like this about a kid that obviously has had a really rough go from the time of 13, wanted to be a cop, and instead was passed around, it seems. There are other people involved in this story as well. But can I just ask you why former Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine would sit for this interview? Was it mandatory, this internal affairs investigation, now that he's retired?
Well, it's mandatory in that he is trying to fight decertification. He's decertified. I think he let his certification lapse, and the state is moving to decertify him so he cannot hold any position in law enforcement in Massachusetts and by extension in other states as well. He is a lawyer, and I think, from what I understand, he is trying to protect his rights, and maybe he wants to advance his career and do some work, maybe for the Executive Office of Public Safety, which oversees the state police. If he does not get his certification back, then he won't be able to do any of that. So that's why he is.
Did you guys hear what he just said? Ah, shoot. Just rewound it. Sorry, guys. Did you hear what?
Ground patrol approximately 20 times.
Give me 1 second.
How long do those?
Technology is not my friend. Did you guys catch what he said right there? Did you catch that? He wants to go work for. He believes that he wants to go work for the state police, and let me. Barb sent me something earlier today. Give me 1 second. Let me find it. Where are you? Okay. It's the OIG, Division of State Police Oversight, is a part of the Massachusetts Office of the Inspector General that monitors the Massachusetts State Police. So Robert Devine possibly wants to get a job monitoring the state police that are having all these fucking issues right now with fucking assholes like Proctor and everybody who's working out of the Norfolk County's office. But this piece of shit wants to go oversee them. They don't need that. We don't need that. This man does not need his license. Inspector General's office to monitor the Massachusetts State Police for efficiency, integrity. That man is going to monitor other police officers about integrity? Come on. And quality. Its role is to review operations, investigate fraud, waste, and abuse, and ensure the state police are following laws, best practices, especially concerning issues like overtime, leave time, and expenditures. Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, integrity. Like, let's not even talk about Sandra for a second. He had another sex scandal. He was bumped. He was the deputy chief of Stoughton people. He was demoted, not down to a lieutenant, not down to a sergeant, to a fucking patrolman. And that's no disrespect to any patrolman out there, because they are doing the Lord's work. We need good patrolmen on the streets. But this man was bumped from deputy chief to patrolman because of his integrity. You don't just get bumped down from the freaking highest echelons of a police department down to a patrolman for mixing cotton candy. If this is why he wants to get his license back, this is fucking insane. Like fucking absolutely. Where the fuck are we? The Massachusetts State Police in the state of Massachusetts don't need somebody like him being their oversight and overwatch. They need people with integrity. They need people who want to make the Massachusetts State Police the best that they can be, because that's what Massachusetts, every citizen in Massachusetts deserves, not the shit show that they're getting right now. Okay. Now I got to try to find where I was because I messed it all up. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize after I went on my tangent. Okay, and I'm back. I have so much more. The notes that I took were crazy watching this all. There's a lot.
Closely. Bob Ward is a reporter for Boston 25 News, good friend of the program. My blood boils, Bob. It boils when I hear stuff like this about a kid that obviously has had a really rough go from the time of 13, wanted to be a cop, and instead was passed around, it seems. There are other people involved in this story as well. But can I just ask you why former Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine would sit for this interview? Was it mandatory, this internal affairs investigation, now that he's retired?
Well, it's mandatory in that he is trying to fight decertification. He is decertified. I think he let his certification lapse, and the state is moving to decertify him so he cannot hold any position in law enforcement in Massachusetts and by extension in other states as well. He is a lawyer, and I think, from what I understand, he is trying to protect his rights, and maybe he wants to advance his career and do some work, maybe for the Executive Office of Public Safety, which oversees the state police. If he does not get his certification back, then he won't be able to do any of that. So that's why he is there. That's why he is fighting this.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense now that you say he's a lawyer and he wants to do some lawyery type work maybe with the police. That makes sense. So isn't he taking a huge chance by saying, I never had sex with well, she was a woman at the point where it happened. And also, I'm not this Mel Gibson character, Marty Riggs, because doesn't the board say, we actually got you on that. We got overwhelming evidence on that.
Exactly. And a lot of this, it hasn't been made public yet, and, the exact evidence that they have. But, the fact that he's gone out there and said, I did not have sex with this young woman. I did not reach out to her on Facebook, on Messenger. In the face of the investigators saying, we have overwhelming evidence that you did these things, that you called her on the day that she died, these can very easily be provable. And from what we understand, there's some computer forensic that's been analysis that has been done, and we're hearing that they've been able to put this Marty Riggs alias on Devine. So, it is very difficult to understand how, when you're in the face of facts that can be easily proven wrong, how you could go out there and just present it this way. His lawyer is saying that, he denies everything, that this has all been one big lie, and that he is a victim. He's a victim of people who are out to get him.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app.
Sorry, guys, I wasn't ready for that. Okay, we're back. I wasn't ready for that to pop up. I was looking up something to show you guys, or where to start with my notes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You could tell, you could tell I just wanted to scroll back up because they were too long. The incidences in the police academies in Massachusetts are really also highlighting the culture of policing in Mass and how dirty and dangerous misogynistic, dark, and it really is. Creeps in charge. I agree. Policing has always had that culture, that air of culture problem. There are a lot more women in policing now when it comes to the misogynistic aspect of it. It's still a boys' club. It's just now that people are more wise to what the police have been doing all this time, and not just in Massachusetts. It's all over. This is an epidemic all over. The culture of policing needs to change. They were all creeping and perping on the kids. Someone in, hold on one second. Whoop. Why is this doing this? Sorry, my thing. There we go. Let me highlight it again. Okay. They were all creeping and perping on the kids. Someone in the forces had to have known those kids were totally unprotected against them, and they did nothing to stop it. Well, that kind of goes into, I released a video last night. I'm going to actually bring that up to play for you guys. Give me 1 second. So you guys can hear what I said if you haven't seen the video. Let me just bring it up. Give me 1 second. And then we'll get into all my thoughts on hearings. It is blatantly obvious that he is victim blaming. Hey guys, it's Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. I'm going to continue my series on Sandra Birchmore. I am in the middle of watching the Robert Devine post-commission hearings. It is blatantly obvious that he is victim blaming. He is going after Sandra Birchmore, calling her crazy, calling her dramatic. He's just disrespecting this young woman who was abused, and that he took part in this abuse of this young woman. This is from his playbook. He said his accounts were hacked. He said the same thing in his last sex scandal. Google Tiffany Overstreet and Robert Devine, and you will find out that he did this before. Not the abusing of a child, but going after a vulnerable young woman. He has done this before. We cannot allow this man to continue to have a badge. The post-commission needs to decertify Robert Devine. It is not right for him to be able to ever be a police officer again. And even if you want to, suspend all disbelief of him being involved, Matthew Farwell and William Farwell were under his charge. He was the deputy chief of Stoughton. He was also the person who ran the Police Explorers program. Why wasn't he performing oversight over these men? Why was Matthew Farwell allowed to ingratiate himself so much into Sandra Birchmore's life and start sexually assaulting her at age 15? That falls at Robert Devine's shoes also. He also helped Matthew Farwell and William Farwell become Stoughton police officers. He put on a good word for his proteges. We cannot allow this man to continue to be a police officer. Yes, his badge is suspended right now, but he could have the opportunity to get his badge back. So as the public, we need to raise holy hell and let the post-commission know that we will not allow this to happen. Robert Devine needs to be decertified. We need to reach out to the Post Commission. Please help us. If you want to know more about Sandra's case, please go to www.justiceforsandrabirchmore.com. Thank you guys. Please help us and contact the Post Commission so they can decertify Robert Devine.
Yeah, she said it all. She said my feelings. You know, that's exactly how I feel. Whoops. Ah, it's not letting me in. Sorry. It popped, for some reason, it popped me out. I don't know what's going on tonight. Sorry, guys. As I say, it wouldn't be a show without me being able to have a little technical difficulties. I do want to pop that video in the chat, and if you guys can go follow the link to that video when this show is over, so you guys can go get the information so you can contact the Post Commission. Link is in the chat. Thank you. I mean, you need a little chaos with the streamlining. You know, it keeps you on your toes. You know, you feel like you're sitting on the edge of everything. So, oops. So I want to go to my notes that I took for watching. Again, please go to the trial channel if you want to watch these. I recommend you checking them out because it's good for us all to know what goes on behind the scenes in these post commissions. Most of them are public, but for some reason they decided, because of the subject matter of Sandra's case, they decided to make these not public. It was the judge's choice. One of the first things I want to mention is that the full Stoughton IR report was 480 pages, but the public report is 40 plus pages. That's insane. I want to see the whole book. We learned that there are 50,000 messages through. There are 50,000 messages with everyone, but there are over 100,000 pages. I mean, over 1,000 page. Over 100,000 pages possibly of data. That's a lot. Excuse me. So I'll say it once. I'll say my favorite word once. I started off where there was a program that they were talking about called the Oasis program. This is when they interviewed McNamara. Fanning called McNamara on, they listed the dates wrong. They said the 6th. He called her on the 5th because that's when they started the report right away. Sandra's body was found on the 4th. And then they, on the 6th, Sandra's body was found on the 4th. On the 5th, they opened the IA. So that was just my first few lines. And then my next line is, sorry, I apologize if you don't like this word, but I said his lawyer's name is Stowe. So I said, Stowe is a cunt in big bold letters and an exclamation point. That's how I started this off with, because he is a piece of shit. So let me see. So McNamara's interview wasn't that, it was kind of performative. They had to interview her. Wasn't that involved. But so Holmes came in, and Holmes had a lot of weird body language going on. I'm trying to scroll down to find what I said. Come on. Holmes. I said Holmes's demeanor is off. He is sweating, rocking in his chair, leaning back. Holmes is getting feisty at the end. Holmes is over it. He is so annoyed. He is beet red. I think Holmes just was like, this guy's a piece of shit. Let's just decertify him. Why am I here? Not that why am I here, but why are we even going through this? You know, why? You know, he was totally over the bullshit. So that was my what I noticed about Holmes. I'm kind of a little disappointed that, you know, Holmes didn't do, he did not interview Robert Devine. There were 2 other investigators that did, and I wish they had those men come and testify, or at least one of them. I think it would have been better. You know, they could have had Holmes come in too, but I think that they should have had him come in. So now we've gotten from what has been told to us and what is in the reports is that the Massachusetts State Police only had 1 year of Sandra's text information, but that is a lie. They had 1 year of stuff from one aspect. It might have been from her phone, but she backed up her phone on her computer back to 2017. That's interesting, and that's how that comes up with the 50,000. And I just find that interesting. So there's a larger time frame that they do have. So there are 5 codes, A, B, C, D, and E, that Sandra had for people. And but none of them were Divine. But she didn't need a code for Divine. He was Marty Riggs. So you don't need a code for somebody if they already have a code name. So I want to go back to something I said in my video, and it ties into what Sandra's friend said. So when I said in my video that, you know, we could sit here if we like suspended all disbelief that he had any part in this. Well, it does fall at his feet. He brought the Farwell brothers into the station. He brought them back to be instructors even before they worked there. He brought them into the Explorers program. He was the deputy chief and sometimes acting chief, because the chief would be in DC taking some courses. So for him to act like, and I don't believe him, I think he's a fucking liar. Even if he didn't have anything to do with any of this, he had not, let's pretend he had nothing to do with that. You also allowed this to go on underneath your nose. And yes, there are a lot of other officers at Stoughton who allow this to go on underneath their nose, but you more so. You knew these 2 boys. You knew how they were. And you brought them in, your little proteges. And you allowed them to be around kids, and you allowed them to like Matthew just dug himself into Sandra's life. He was going to the library with her to help her with homework. You know, this stuff was going on underneath him. And even if he wasn't, which I wholeheartedly believe he was part of this, even if he wasn't, You are part of the fucking problem. You allowed this young woman to be abused and allowed the twin brothers from hell to do this to this young woman. So if you can't have it both ways, you are still part of the problem. And I'm like spitting now. You are still part of the issue. You are still why Sandra was abused if you didn't have anything to do with the actual abuse of Sandra. Which I don't believe, because you're a fucking liar. Throughout the sorry, excuse me. Throughout the hearing, you know, Stowe is condescending, he's an ass, but he's doing his job, he's a lawyer, that's how he's gonna be. You know, once again, denies being Marty Riggs. You know, they brought up, they interviewed one of Sandra's cousins, and, you know, that sometimes she could be untruthful. Yes, but that's what children who are groomed, they lie. They protect their abusers. That's what they are taught. That's what Sandra was taught. And we don't know if you know, there are a few different ways that it can happen, but sometimes it's fear of bodily harm, fear of your family being harmed, you know, threats. And we don't know what everything all the goings on behind the scenes were with these men. Stowe, oh, I said, this is what I wrote. Stowe, the see you next Tuesday says, and this is a doozy. Sandra Facebooked everybody. It seemed to be her favorite way of communicating with people. He asked Holmes if he agreed. Holmes says, yeah, she spoke to a lot of people that way. Stowe, the see you next Tuesday says, she spoke to tens of thousands. She spoke to there are tens of thousands of communications. Holmes says, yes. Then says, yes. Then Stowe the fucker says, it's an insane amount of communications, isn't it? And he stutters because he knows what he's saying. What he's about to say, he's a piece of shit for. You would agree, it raises the question of her mental state. And then I wrote in capital letters, fuck you, Stowe. So because my form of communication a lot is Facebook. Being somebody who's disabled, who that is my way of communicating. It's my outreach to the world. You know, that's how I keep in contact with a lot of friends and family. And I talk to most people through Facebook. I mean, like my brother, I talk to him through Facebook Messenger. I don't text him. You know, it's like a lot of people talk through Facebook Messenger. And that doesn't mean that it should take into question Sandra's mental state because she's talking to people on Facebook Messenger. Like me, Sandra probably felt it was the easiest way to keep in contact with people. Millions and millions and millions of people in this world use Facebook Messenger for the same reason. Not everybody wants to give a phone number out, but you can message somebody on Facebook. Not everybody wants to talk to everybody and be like in full, you know, contact with them with numbers and all that. So they use Facebook or Instagram messaging, you know. So for him to bring in Sandra's mental state because she's talking to a lot of people on Facebook Messenger. Come on, Stowe, you are a piece of shit. He did say that Billy, William Farrell, was trying to get stories from Sandra. Well, he said it as a negative to Holmes, but if you think about it, if he was trying to get stories from her, there has to be stories to get. He would have had to know that there was a story for Sandra to tell him. So that makes no sense, though. Stowe repeatedly tried to make it seem like Holmes was biased. Because Holmes and Divine used to be really close. They, their families spent time together, and it's changed when Divine was caught doing certain things, and when he had his last sex scandal, Holmes didn't agree with what he did, so he distanced himself. Rightfully so. I get it. There were some things that he saw going on that he didn't like, so he distanced himself. So they tried to make it seem like that Holmes was doing this for retribution, and it would be the other way around. And let's get into retribution. So supposedly, Divine went into this and explained a little bit more about it. Supposedly, Divine's daughter was at the police station. I guess a lot of police officers will do that. Their kids will get dropped off at the station. Well, this day, Divine's daughter was dropped off the station. She was about 8.5. And she wrote a note in crayon that said, I believe, revenge is the best dish served cold. It supposedly stuck it in Holmes's mailbox. And she wasn't allowed back in the station. Okay, an 8-year-old. Supposedly she's really smart. Fine, I don't know this girl, whatever. I try not to talk about their children, but this is something like off. It's very, very off. The story is very, very not right. So a child, supposedly, because he said he's a huge Star Trek fan and it was in one of the Star Trek movies, and she knew to write this, and she had the forethought to stick it in Holmes's mailbox. Really? You want us to believe this? And Sandra's the one who's a liar. So the man who took your job gets a letter written in crayon in his mailbox that's basically a threat. And you want us to believe it's your daughter who did it. And even if the daughter did do it, we're supposed to believe that you didn't put her up to it. The math ain't mathin'. Come on, people. Yeah, I'm gonna get into some of this right in a minute, because it's let me see. There's a lot. I have like hours of notes. it was interesting. The Chateau restaurant was mentioned a few times, and there's a area behind the Chateau restaurant in Stoughton that if you were to go sit in a cop car behind there, yeah, nobody could see you. Not at all. And oddly enough, Divine said he likes to go park at the golf course, which is right next to the Chateau. I don't know. I think you're telling on yourself there, buddy. Yeah, I guess there are a couple of other Roberts at the Stoughton Police Department, and they kept trying to insinuate that some of the text messages mentioning Robert was other Roberts. And it was like, come on. It's paper thin what you guys are putting out there. So Stowe does an objection during the procedure, and he says that Stowe objects that Divine doesn't have the right to question Sandra because she isn't here. Stowe is a colossal thunder. See you next Tuesday. That's what I said. And Divine are two peas in a pod, scumbags. They are fucking all the way. They can fuck all the way off. These are my notes. Like, he literally says, Divine doesn't have the right to question Sandra because she's no longer here. No shit, asshole. Because she was fucking murdered by your fucking client's protege. That's why Sandra isn't here. That's why Divine can't question her. That's why we're all here. Like, the audacity of Stowe. And I get it. He's out here trying to do work for his lawyer. So let me get into one of my observations when going through this is what I came up with. I might have mentioned it a little bit earlier. I say I personally think Divine was jealous that Sandra was sleeping with the Farwells. He denied his advances for she denied his advances for years. There was something that was redacted that made it sound like that she said something about Divine. And all the flirty overtures for sexual advance were him, not her. In 2019, Sandra was saying ew about him. So I think it was him who was saying it to Sandra, not Sandra saying it to him. That's what I think. Okay, let me go down to Divine's testimony because that was. I'm not totally done Divine's testimony. I've only been through the first day. I've done all of his lawyer's questioning, and I just started on Martinez's questioning. Let me go to the chat for a little bit. Sorry. Who are the Farwells? Sorry, I might be I'm a little behind in the chat. Are you talking about the Farwells? Oh, wait a minute.
Let me just scroll up a little more. I've been having so much problems with my stuff too. Before, yeah, it would be nice if there were body cams so people couldn't lie about stuff. But strangely enough, I don't know how long they keep those for. There should have been dashboard cam from every time Sandra would have approached one of their cars. I don't know if that was looked into. I mean, I'm just you know, armchair detective. I don't know if that was looked into. You know, especially since if they had looked into it back in 2001, it would have been in the months around when Sandra got pregnant and was murdered. So it would have been a good time to look at that shit. I wanted to bring this up because when I was choking when you sent this. Conspiratorial creep alert. Looking the other way should not be an option in these situations. Not at all. Enablers of pedophiles. And I'm glad I went back and found this. I fully agree with that. And he was derelict in his duty. He was not protecting these young children who were under his care. You know, Sandra's mom sent her to be part of the Police Explorers because she wanted her to have some guidance and some discipline and to have some focus and be around people that she could trust. Her mom sent there because she trusted the police, like most parents do. And what these men did to her is horrific. And it all happened under Divine's leadership. He allowed this to happen. Okay. Divine's testimony. Let me describe. The best thing I could say is he's dripping with arrogance. Divine thinks he is the king of shit, and he's just a piece of shit. He is so dripping with arrogance when he talks. So in 2014 and 15, he was demoted of unbecoming of an officer and abuse of authority. And he tries to be like, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. I said, oh, boo-hoo, you suffered the consequences of your actions for being suspended and demoted for your actions with Tiffany Overstreet. The fucking ego on this guy. He just has this arrogance and just, it's vile. It's vile. It makes you want to throw up in your mouth. Well, it makes you want, not, you don't want to, but you do. You feel it. I went on to say, he said Holmes took my job. And my thing was,
Holmes took his job, question mark. No, you disrespected the badge and was demoted. Nobody took your job. Nobody took his job. Your actions is what took your job away from you. Your actions is the reason why you were demoted. It had nothing to do with Holmes coming in and taking his job. And that's his issue, is he was pissed that Holmes was sitting in his seat. How dare Holmes sit in that seat? That's my seat. That's his arrogance showing right there. Hello, Miss Jessica. Thank you for joining us. Let me see. I did not know this. They actually don't call it an SOR officer in Stoughton. They call it a juvenile officer. And when Divine took over the program, he automatically, I guess, took over the Explorers program. I kind of knew a little bit about that, but it wasn't connected totally for me there. We've always been told it was about 300 children, but it is actually about 500 children that went through that program. He didn't run it continuously. He ran it off and on. They go into, excuse me, to the young woman who came out in 2021. He does the same thing that he did with Sandra. He tries to make her sound like she's crazy. It's all her. It's her. It's her. Well, and the story that he tells is very different from her mom. And that is in the Boston Globe. Her mom spoke out. So it's totally, yeah. Yeah, 500 kids in his time. And that's why when in every single one of those children should be interviewed. Why haven't they been? Yes, it's a big undertaking, but every single child should be interviewed. There are 2 officers that worked with Divine at the after-school program. They had an after-school program at the Stoughton Junior High School. And it was called the Open Gym program, where kids could come in and play games. So it would keep them off the streets and keep them out of trouble. Well, one of them did, I think when they did their interview, said that they never saw Divine go off with kids. They never saw him alone with kids. Well, just because you never saw it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Things can happen that you just never saw. Things happen all the time that people don't see. Just look at, like, say things like abuse in the family, domestic violence. Most of that it happens all the time, but most people don't see it. So that kind of annoyed me. And what they were trying to do was set it up for Ashley, who came forward about being groomed in 2001 and into 2002. And they were trying to make her sound like it's all her. She's crazy. She was obsessed, which she admittedly said. I was 12. I had a crush. But he also, like, stepped into it. And they asked, "Oh, did you ever see him hug a student?" And they said no. And they said they never saw him do ride-alongs. Well, I heard from different people that he had ride-alongs with young women in the car. It wasn't just her who said it. It was other people. And then they had this former explorer come up. It was so shady. It is so shady. She was like the one witness he had. And she's his neighbor. He worked with his with her aunt, and she did an affidavit. She was a former explorer. Well, that's not how abuse works. You know, just because one child isn't abused doesn't mean another child isn't being abused. Just because something is happening to one person over here doesn't mean it's not happening to somebody else over here. Two people can have two very different experiences at the same time. And she said, oh, Sandra was needy and she wanted attention. And okay. Yeah. But that doesn't mean she should be abused. You know, and she wasn't even around Sandra that long. And it's just funny that so there were 500 kids. This is what I don't understand. There were 500 kids that went through the program for him. And you had one student come forward. I would have had like 10. Or pick the best 5. You had one. You could get only one. If you were not doing anything, if you were so beloved and people loved you so much, you only could get one student who was your neighbor and you knew her aunt, who was a fellow lawyer. And they both sides asked her the questions, and then the judge asked her some questions, and the judge says, well, who did somebody ask you to fill this out? And she was like, long, awkward, crazy silences. And it was just so shady. Like, all she had to say was, I'm a former explorer. I went to my aunt who she could have just said, my aunt's a lawyer. She knew Divine. And I was pissed because I was an explorer and I didn't have this experience. So I wanted to speak out. That's all she had to say. But the way she was making it sound, instead of being forthcoming with her answer and being like, in these long, awkward silences, she made it, it was what it was. It was all in our face. It was shady as fuck. And she made a clown out of herself. She looked like an idiot up there. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was gross to watch because you knew it was like and then excuse me, there was another person who filled out an affidavit who I believe had to do with Ashley, and it was a similar thing. Like, Divine contacted him and basically gave him the format of what to say and how to fill it out. Okay. So those were his 2 witnesses, but the other one didn't testify because I guess he had surgery. This is a crazy story. So, Lisa Divine, that's Robert Divine's wife. She is a Quincy police officer. She teaches a self-defense class for women. And supposedly Sandra took her class. And then she went to her after the class and asked her if she would mentor her because Sandra wanted to be a police officer. And she asked for her number. And Lisa gave her the number because she was like trying to get out of there. And she just like gave her number. And Lisa asked Divine if he knew her. And he was like, absolutely not. Don't talk to her. Da, da, da. Now, my question is, did you not want her to talk to her because of something was going on and she might find out about it? Or was it because of what you're saying? That's my question. And that would have been my follow-up question, but I don't know if Martinez asks that because I have not gotten that far. And Divine says he claims that Sandra came back to the next class and yelled at his wife because Sandra had texted her a bunch of times and she hadn't replied. Well, she would have known that she didn't text her. So that seems like a weird, awkward, I don't know. I don't get it. Okay. And then Lisa supposedly shut Sandra down. And supposedly they ended up having to kick Sandra out of the class. And then Divine claims his wife, a fucking police officer, was almost run off the road. And he thinks it possibly could have been Sandra. Are you fucking kidding me? Your wife, the police officer, didn't call that in? Your wife, the police officer, was almost run off the road. So it was an attempt on harming her. And she didn't call her buddies in blue? Give me a fucking break. If somebody tried to run her off the road, she would have called her buddies and they would have got that person. He over and over and over and over again says he was hacked, and he keeps saying he was hacked, and he kept saying he downloaded his Apple information to show that he doesn't have a messenger app. You don't need a messenger app to speak to somebody on Facebook. You can speak to somebody on Facebook on your fucking computer. You don't need the app. All you need is the Facebook app. So he's talking about both sides of his head. Like, you don't need a phone to talk on Facebook. Yes, most of us are on Facebook for on the phone, but you can use a laptop. He acts like we were all stupid. And then they went into his schedule, and it was really weird, saying who has access to the schedule. He said he was asked if Matthew, William, and even Josh Heel had access to his schedule. Well, I don't understand how Josh Heel would have access to his schedule, because Josh Heel was an animal control officer. He wasn't a police officer. So he shouldn't have had access to that part of the computer system. At least that's what I would assume as a layman. There was I have to put in for this, there was a young woman who was an intern at Stoughton Police Department in 2013 to 14. He was still the deputy chief, and there was a flirty relationship with the intern, and he claims it was just banter. And she was also a former explorer. So he was flirting as the deputy chief with a young woman who was interning at the Stoughton Police Department. And she was a former explorer. Like, these are on the lines. Oh, it was just banter. That's what he tried to say. It was just banter. You're having these flirty exchanges with a young woman because you can't control yourself. You're a grown-ass man. You're the deputy chief. You're supposed to be the person that everybody looks up to. But they can't, because you're a scumbag. Um, they decided not to do closing arguments. They decided to do written statements instead. I think those written statements, closing statements, should be made public. And guys, this is just what we know about. And like I said, I haven't finished his whole interview. So there's much, much, much more to come on this. But those are some of my notes through. There's a lot more that there's just so much that I wrote down. And some of them are hard to translate into let me go back to that young woman who was the former explorer who testified in Divine's behalf. I'll read through my notes. She was in the Explorers with Sandra. She says she saw no inappropriate behavior, didn't see any relationship with Robert Divine. Asked if he ever kissed or hugged anyone, she says no. Says Sandra was attention seeking. She said Sandra was trying to get in contact info on the officers. And she is lying about who asked her to draft the affidavit. She didn't stay in contact with Sandra. So she didn't stay in contact with Sandra, so she wouldn't know of the abuse that what was happening with Sandra. So, and like I said before, two people can have two different, can be going through the same, in school, playing sports or whatever, and have two different outcomes. Two people get treated differently. Just because one person over here is being abused and the other person over here is not, doesn't mean it's not happening. And then I said, it came out that she was his neighbor. The judge is asking about the affidavit. She's being shady about it and asked about being a witness because they reached out. It was kind of the way she made it, but supposedly it did come out more when Divine was interviewed by I can't remember his name at the moment. The prosecution portion side, Martinez. Because that's where he started the day, he started asking him about this. It was fun to watch him get under Divine's skin. It's a lot of fun to watch because he starts getting at him. So it was just starting to get really good when I had to give up the TV so my mom could watch her soaps. But so that's about all I have written down. Oh, I can never spell, so don't worry about it. We will definitely talk more about this because we don't need Robert Divine to have a license. As I said before, some of you who are coming in later, Bob Ward said he believes that he wants to go work for the Massachusetts State Police in oversight of them. And we don't need somebody like Robert Divine who is already demoted from being deputy chief for not doing the right thing, to be having oversight over a police department, the state police, that already has so many freaking issues. Massachusetts does not need that. So, are there any questions, comments, concerns, anything? Let's talk before we end tonight. I agree with you, Sue. The fact that the Mass Bar Association hasn't intervened is ridiculous. I do know that they were reached out to and they are watching the procedure. So that's all I have for right now. Absolutely not. He belongs behind bars and overseeing anything related to public safety. Absolutely. Like, we're supposed to trust this man to make public policy and oversee the Massachusetts State Police, who are so fucked at the moment themselves. We don't need that. We do not need that. Oh, thank you, Life Artist. Thank you for coming. I mean, and I appreciate you all for being here. It means the world to me. And it helps get Sandra's story out there. The most important thing right now is I'll drop it in the drop the link again, but we need people to contact the Post Commission and let them know that, you know, Robert Devine does not need to be, you know, his license needs to be pulled. He does not need to be recertified. You know, Massachusetts does not need him as a police officer to get his license back. I'm going to drop that video back in there. The information if you go to the description part of that video, that link I just sent, when you head out, if you go to there, it gives you 3 phone numbers and emails, places to send it. Barb had a little trouble with one of them, so I'm gonna, after I get off, I'm gonna link the Post Commission itself. So if anybody has trouble also, they can just go there and do it that way. We need everybody on this. Excuse me, the hiccups. We need everybody to get behind this, because this man does not need to be a police officer anymore. If that's the only consequence he gets for what he did and what he took part in with the abuse of Sandra and facilitating and allowing this abuse to occur under him, then that's what needs to happen. No, you can, anybody can make it, you know, anybody as a person in the public. I don't live in Massachusetts and I'm going to. I'm writing them. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we needed to talk about. I am gonna figure out. Oh, thank you, Sue. Good to see you tonight. Thanks for coming in. I am going to. I have that Brandon Embry stream that I have to make up. I had so many streams I wanted to do. Like, I had planned to do a late night Halloween stream and tell ghost stories, and I was just too sick. My migraines were too bad that night, so I wasn't able to do it. So, but okay. So if there are no more questions, I think that's all I had for you guys tonight. And again, you know, we appreciate at the Justice for Sandra Birchmore group. We appreciate you all for following Sandra's case and, you know, being there to back her up and help us share Sandra's story and listen to me yell for 2.5 hours. And, you know, Sandra didn't have that support she needed. She did have family, but, like, you know, her mom was gone, her grandmother were gone. She was looking for a place to belong, and now we have to wrap our arms around her and be that for her. you know, these disgusting, vile men want to disrespect her in we're disrespectful to her in life, but in death, we're not going to allow that. We are going to stand up. We're going to keep yelling. We're going to keep standing up for her. We're going to keep going to hearings. We're going to keep doing standouts. We're going to keep doing lives. I'm going to keep sharing as much information with the public as I possibly can, so we can keep showing up for her in death. And now we can show up for her and her baby boy even more so now that Matthew Farrell has been charged with his murder. And again, like I said at the top of the show, we wear blue for Sandra, and we said baby, we did light blue to include the baby, that we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. It was just baby blue. And it is so powerful that we have all this time been doing baby blue for a baby boy. You know, if you can, that video I dropped in the chat, share it, put it on your social media, send it to some friends, you know, or if you want to just take the information, you know, out of there and share it for people to get that information out. We need all hands on deck. We need to be the community that pushes this out, because this could be another victory for Sandra. You know, Heel is no longer a police officer. Matthew's in jail and no longer able to become a police officer. Williams decertified, no longer to be a police officer. Divine is the last peg in this portion of Sandra's case, and we want him gone. And it's on us now. It is on us to make some noise. So I thank all of you for coming and spending some time with me, and everyone who is in the replay crew was up. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for always coming back and rewatching the show. It means the world to me, especially a smaller creator, because I know there are a couple bigger creators on right now, and you guys are here with me, and it means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys all, hey, Brandy. Brandy has, if you guys go to the Justice for Sandra Birchmore Facebook group, Brandy has an awesome video that she just posted. I love it, Brandy. It's so good, so good. That last line, I can't remember what it says. Something about the heart. It's so good. It's so well done, and I appreciate that. We're trying to push more stuff out there. You know, not just me and it's kind of funny that you made that video, because I was going to reach out to you today and I just never got a chance to. I'm going to message you on X, because I have a favor to ask. But we are, you know, it's a community pushing out. Solving police corruption isn't just one thing. Like, I know I said I was leaving, but like, we'll go into quickly. You know, a lot of people, after Karen got acquitted, they walked away, and you know, there are the core boots on the ground who still do a standout every Sunday in Dedham to stand up for John. They've taken their efforts and switched them over to John and Sandra. You know, they come to all of our standouts, and they have Sandra signs there too. But these dedicated people are still, you know, just because Karen is acquitted, they haven't stopped, because now it's been shifted to John, and getting justice for getting justice not just for John and Sandra and just en route. It breaks through even beyond that. You know, Frances Gigalotti and Kelsey Fitzsimmons, what's going on in her case. And there's so many cases where there's crazy stuff going on in just Massachusetts, because that's what we're talking about right now. And we, you know,
I bring you the Brandon Embry case. There's a bunch of other cases I have that I'm going to bring to you guys. There's a couple other crazy cases in Massachusetts that you guys probably don't know about. And you know, like there are a bunch of cases that I've covered on my channel. You can go back and watch all those. Yes, Enrique Delgado Garcia. That mean a lot to me that I will bring to you. I just got to get my health a little better so I can do more than one show. And corruption doesn't stop. The corruption didn't stop, you know, with Karen getting acquitted. There's still a lot of corruption. I mean, look at what happened. You know, Canton PD just suspended Good, you know, Sergeant Good. And look at what's happening with Proctor. This isn't going away. We need everybody to still speak out against this. And I mean, like I said, I personally am free Karen Reed, but my focus had to be on Sandra. Karen had enough people, you know, they got her, you know, they had her. Sandra needed me. I would always speak my mind about Karen's case, but you know, Sandra needed me. And that's the thing, is we need to make sure that we can't let up. Now that there has been the dam breaking a little, there's cracks in the dam, we need to keep pushing, because all the corruption needs to flow out so we can get our eyes on all of it. And we can do the cleanup. We can't allow it to just sit behind the blue wall of silence. We need those walls to crack. And it will also help police officers. Police officers don't want to work around other shitbags. You know, they don't want to be working with these assholes. But that's what happens when you work in a big, excuse me, in a environment like that. There's corruption. There's good people in every profession. It's just police officers have such a authority over us as the public, and we the people need to say no more. We are not putting up with this bullshit anymore. We are not going to allow you to not do the job that we pay you for. We're not going to let you treat the citizens the way you are. We want to work with you. We want to make our community stronger. We want to make our communities better. And sometimes that means the public has to raise holy hell to get that shit done and make a change. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe that. Leos need to speak out too. This is their fight too. Absolutely. I was going to play for you guys a speech that I made. I was going to use it as my opener. I'll use it as my opener next week so I can figure it out. So I'm having issues. A speech I made after George Floyd was killed. We're not going to get into the big discussion back and forth about that. I've always been for police reform, and I've spoken out for many, many years, but I got to go speak about it this day. And it's not, police officers need to cross that line and step on the side of the public and look back at their shady fucking shitbag cops that they know shouldn't have badges anymore, and stand up against them. But unfortunately, the way the system of policing is, if a good cop stands up, the other cops take that as an insult and go after that good cop who is trying to do something good. And the system can't change if that continues to happen. That's why there's that joke out there that policing is the biggest gang in the country, because they always back each other no matter what. You know, they will be there for the firefight. They will jump in and you know, there are very little times when another officer goes and pulls an officer over off someone who is accosting a citizen. So there's so much in policing that needs to be fixed, but it's rooted in policing. You know, they are trained to be warriors, and we don't always need warriors on the street. There's so much that needs to be fixed in policing, and there's a lot of good happening in policing. You know, there are time and time again, we see, you know, videos of officers running into, you know, mass shootings, or, you know, even simple things like they race there to save a dog from a car, or, you know, somebody's falling into the water and they're jumping in the ice to save somebody. You know, police officers do great good in this country, but there's also a lot of fucking assholes that are police officers who never should have gotten the badge in the first place. Like the Farwell brothers. They should have never been allowed to get badges. And Robert Devine is also a piece of shit. So. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of corruption in that too. Definitely. That is very, very true. So, but, all right. I'm going to end this again. So I appreciate you all. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you. Love you, replay crew. I will be back Monday. I'll probably do 6:30. I like the 6:30 because the last half hour, it's like you're running around trying to get ready, and the extra half hour, I kind of like it. But I will, please keep an eye on social media. You know, we will have some updates coming, and, you know, if you go to the Justice for Sandra Birchmore website, you can reach all the different social medias there. It's an easy way to find it. Thank you, mods. You know, Barb couldn't be here the whole night, so it's so great. Again, thank you, Cheryl. You were awesome tonight. It was great to see Miss Jessica. Love you, girl. Sherry did. Thank you. Thank you for being here too. Cheryl, you did an awesome job for your first night modding. You pulled all those links that, you know, I didn't even have to ask for them. Yeah. I'm probably going to go watch Melanie. Whoops. I appreciate you popping in, Scott. Yeah, I'm going to go watch Melanie cover it too. I yelled for like 2 hours. My voice is gone. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I appreciate and love you all. All I can say is all we're here for is to get justice for Sandra Birchmore and so many others. But that was what the topic is tonight. And most nights is justice for Sandra Birchmore and justice for baby boy Birchmore. Thank you, guys. I am Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining me.